Welcome back, everybody. You know, when it comes to choosing the right table saw, professional contractors know that not all tools are created equal. With so many options on the market, it's essential to understand how different models stack up in real-world scenarios. In this comprehensive head-to-head test, we put 6 of the top cordless table saws to the test, evaluating their performance, precision, power, ease of use, and safety. Whether you're a seasoned contractor or woodworking enthusiast, this guide will help you make an informed decision and find the best saw that meets your needs in your workshop or job site. Let's dive into it and see which saw comes out the best. So the first thing we did is we chose our selection criteria. We chose to test 6 saws in the 8 1/4 inch range, focusing on mobile pro contractors. In the end, we allowed Metabo HPT to send us their 10-inch and Festool to send their 168mm saw because they do not have a saw in the range we were looking at. We wanted to at least have some inclusion. So the 6 saws we tested were Bosch, Dewalt, Festool, Flex, Metabo HPT, and Milwaukee. Milwaukee and Dewalt being the 2 that have been out the longest. For specifications and more details on these saws, visit toolboxbuzz.com because the website always has way more information and specifications than the video. So we looked at several categories in our testing. We looked at precision and accuracy, performance, price, features, which is usability and ergonomics. We looked at the saw stand, and we also looked at best value when we talk a little bit about decibels. So let's talk a little bit about table saws on the job site for a minute. When these saws arrive on our job site, they're quickly unboxed, assembled, and put to use immediately. I'm not talking about a woodworker who goes through with all their precision stuff. Users expect these saws to be accurate, and they want to take it out of the box and be able to use it if they can. So what we looked at and what we measured. So basically to assess the manufactured accuracy of the 8 saws, we evaluated 6 different areas: table flatness, accuracy at the 45 and 90 stops, parallel to the Midas, the blade parallel to the Midas slot, fence parallel to the Midas slot, and saw blade runout. With regard to accuracy procedures, we looked at table flatness first, and we assessed the flatness of the table by placing the edge of a precision ground flat bar across it. And we used feeler gauges and a light to kind of look for gaps and measure those gaps. Measurements were taken in 4 directions: front to rear at the arbor, left to right at the arbor, and then upper left to lower right at the table corner, and upper right to lower left table corner. This comprehensive data, basically, we collected it, allowed us to create a ranked set of results by assigning a 1, 2, 3 ranking to the relative values of the measurements. So we then ranked the saws for overall table flatness as manufactured. For context, a typical sheet of copy paper, printer paper, is 0.0004 inches thick. So keep that in mind. Our measurements range from 0.0004 to 0.026 inches. The saw's individual flatness scores across those 4 measurements add to a summarized score that we took. And then we obviously ranked them. The Bosch ranked the highest in table flatness with a minimum measured deflection of 0.011. Flex was a close second, and followed by a 3-way tie for third with Dewalt, Metabo HPT, and Milwaukee. Surprisingly, the Festool had the most deflection in the table with this measurement method that we used. The Festool has a very unique feature where the left side of the table is a sliding table, front to back slide. It's like a cross-cut sled. There was a slight variable between the height and the sliding stationary section of the table, so that's why it didn't do as well. Okay, we moved on a 45-degree stop, and basically we used a Beal digital inclometer, which has an accuracy of 0.1 degrees, right? So the process began by placing the gauge on the table, calibrating it to 0 to relative table surface, right? Relative 0. And after calibration, we attached it to the blade, and we would incline it until we got to that 45-degree stop. The measurement was recorded and the test was repeated to ensure repeatability and consistency to our test. All of our results were within 0.01 degrees. Contractors using saws for precision cuts and finish cuts, they want accuracy. They need a 45 to be 45. So out of the box accuracy directly impacts the quality of their cuts and safety of the operator. We compared the relative accuracy of the saws immediately after assembly to determine their as-built precision right out of the box. The results showed how each saw stacked up in terms of their manufactured tolerances and overall accuracy. We then moved on to the vertical 90-degree stop, and we measured the accuracy of the factory set 90-degree stop using the same digital inclinometer. After calibrating the blade to the saw table, we moved the blade approximately 7 degrees off vertical and then adjusted it to the factory set 90-degree stop. The measurement was recorded and repeated with consistent results within 0.1 degrees of the previous tests. All of the saws were perfect at 90 degrees, which is really nice to see. We then moved on to looking at blade parallel to the miter slot. This might be important if you're doing a sled or something. I don't know a lot of guys who use a miter gauge, but to measure the blade's alignment with the miter slot, we used an eye-gauging digital dial indicator. It's accurate to 0.0005 inches. A new Diablo blade was installed in each saw, and the blade height was set to 2 inches. We measured a single tooth as a reference point, positioning that tooth at the rear of the saw, and the dial indicator was set to 0 against that marked tooth. The blade was then rotated to the front of the saw, and the same tooth was measured again. We marked it. A negative reading indicated the blade and the miter slot were closer together at the front, while a positive reading indicated they were further apart. By analyzing the data from these tests, we were able to rank the saws based on their as-built accuracy and alignment. Machining, basically, right? I want to note that we placed a Diablo 8¼ inch blade on the Metabo HPT for testing, and we're not able to use the Diablo blades on the Festool. So we used a similar count Festool OEM blade. The next thing we looked at for accuracy was the saw fence parallel to miter slot. The accuracy and safety of a saw depends on the blade being parallel with the rip fence. Simple. Having already tested the parallelism between the saw blade and the miter slot, the next step was to check the miter slot parallel to the rip fence. This ensures a parallel relationship between the blade and the rip fence. We used the eye-gauging digital dial indicator to measure the accuracy of the factory set fence relative to the table saw miter slot. We start by locking the fence in a position approximately 1 inch away from the blade on the side opposite the miter slot. The throw on the dial indicator was adjusted to take the readings in the middle of the indicator's range of movement, ensuring consistency and accuracy of the measurements. We calibrated the dial indicator to 0 on the operator's end of the rip fence. Then we positioned the dial indicator at the rear of the saw, placed it at the rip fence, and took its reading. Again, multiple readings for consistency and repeatability. If the fence and the miter slot were closer together at the rear of the saw, the dial indicator showed positive reading. Conversely, if it was further apart, it displayed a negative reading. A positive reading indicated that the materials being cut might be pinched or increase the likelihood of maybe a kickback. Moving on to saw fence parallel to the miter slot after adjustment. So what we did here was, it's important to note that all of the saws were adjusted after the accuracy evaluation and before our performance testing. With the exception of the blade runout, other adjustments can be made to these fine-tuning these saws, which is great. We were able to adjust the saws to the following. I'll insert a chart so you guys can kind of see how we got it. The best we could, we corrected it. But being able to reliably and repeatedly adjust the fence, it's important to the longevity, safety, and use of a saw. Blade runout. Now, blade runout describes how much the edge of the saw blade wobbles while mounted on the motor shaft. Measuring a runout with a saw blade assumes the blade is nearly perfect in flatness, right? We used a Freud calibration plate on each saw to test and measure runout. After removing the saw blade from the saw and inserting the calibration plate, we raised the trunnion to its maximum vertical adjustment. A black mark on the calibration plate provided a consistent starting point for our runout test. Using our dial indicator, we carefully rotated the calibration plate, touching its outer rim to avoid side-to-side force, and skewing results. And we recorded the maximum reading on the dialed indicator and validated this by repeating the test, ensuring consistent readings. Notably, the maximum readings occurred at different points along the plate's rotation across 8 saws, reinforcing our confidence in the plate's flatness. Okay, as far as precision summary, who won? Flex. Based on the data of all 7 individual tests, we compiled a summary ranking to determine the overall winner for as-built accuracy. So here are the results. Flex was consistently accurate and precise in 6 out of 7 categories. Kudos to you, Flex. Milwaukee was a really close second, followed by Dewalt. We then moved over to performance testing. For this segment of the testing, we used 2 different materials, 3/4 CDX plywood and 2x KD lumber, while measuring saw blade RPM drop. We assessed the saw's performance based on their blade speed under load and speed of cut. Now, blade speed, RPM load versus no load, right? So the first performance measurement we looked at was blade speed while cutting all the test materials. The test provides a relative comparison to the blade speed reduction under different loading conditions, giving us an idea of motor, gearbox combination strength for each saw. We recorded the no load speed to capture the relative drop in the RPM during cutting. And we used our measured no load speeds instead of the manufacturer's published values. To measure blade speed, we used a digital laser non-contact tachometer. Reflective tape was adhered to the saw blade behind the carbide tooth, positioned under the wood cutting surface. So it allowed us to kind of capture that blade speed. A power feeder ensured consistent feed rates through each saw. We used a Diablo 8 1/4 24 tooth framing blade in all the saws, including the Metabo HPT 10-inch saw for the testing. For the Festool saw, we used a 42 tooth finished 168 millimeter wood universal blade. Now, performance summary, who won that? The winner of that was Dewalt. To determine our power winner, we measured the percentage of RPM drop of the saw under a slow feed cut and a fast feed cut. By averaging the RPM drop across these 2 scenarios, we determined our power ranking. Dewalt had the most available power and showed the least RPM drop under load with just a 14% drop in RPM. By comparison, the next closest saw was Flex, had a 19% drop, and Milwaukee had a 24% drop. The Festool was unable to complete either cut without overloading, unfortunately. We also did a manual hand feed comparison. Now, we did this to validate our power feeder rig, and we did this by we conducted a cutting speed test without the rig, basically. One operator, yours truly, handled this test, feeding the material as quickly as I could while monitoring the saw's motor sounds and adjusting my feed rate accordingly. So if it started to bog down, I backed off. But basically, I adapted my speed for each cut, either speeding up or slowing down as needed. And we made several cuts and recorded the fastest time achieved. The hand feed result in the subsequent ranking matched the results seen on our power feeder test, which was great. The gap between the Flex and the Milwaukee was closer in the 2nd and 3rd place race. The Festool was still unable to complete this test without overloading. All right, we looked at price comparison. Winner of that was Bosch. We ranked the table saws using their bare tool pricing. The Bosch was the least expensive at $399, with Dewalt, Flex, and Milwaukee tied at $499, Metabo HPT 10-inch saw at $599, and the Festool was $1499. We moved on from there to ergonomics and features. Big category, a lot to talk about. Ergonomics play a crucial role in ensuring that tools are efficient and safe to use, and they focus on designing a tool to enhance productivity while reducing discomfort, fatigue, injury, whatever. Features such as well-placed handles, riving knives, safety switches, non-slip coatings, all contribute to overall ergonomic performance of any saw. So the ergonomic factors. In our ergonomic evaluation, we considered the following factors, and we ranked them on a scale of 1 to 6, 1 being the best. We looked at weight. We weighed each model with the battery, and the Metabo HPT obviously being the heaviest, 62.4 pounds, the biggest saw, and the Bosch being the lightest at 45.7 pounds. We looked at the power switch. Ease of use and safety are major considerations for our team, especially when you have a large, easy to actuate power switch. Bosch and Flex had the best switch. Both are pulled on, or pulled into and on position, and shut off. And you can use your knee to shut it off. Tap your knee. The team found that to be very simple and intuitive. The Festool had a two-step process. Turn the saw on, requiring to activate a master power switch followed by a power on switch. The saw cannot easily be stopped with the knee. Some of the others can be as well. The Dewalt has a red paddle. However, when held at its highest point and released, the paddle can accidentally shut the saw off due to the closing momentum in that spring. We've pointed that out many times. It happens occasionally, but it's really annoying. Onboard storage. Festool was superior with its sustainer-based accessory storage. Milwaukee came in second with an excellent accessory stored. They secure with a permanent mounted spring-loaded nut that you cannot lose. All of the other tools had a removable wing nut that easily gets dropped or lost or misplaced. So kudos to Milwaukee on that. The fence. The Flex fence is a rack and pinion style, very similar to Dewalt and Milwaukee. Dewalt, led the way on that. The only real difference is that the Flex has a rechargeable 12 LED light strip built into the fence. The light is actuated by a rocker switch on the rear of the fence. The Dewalt Milwaukee fence are super smooth to operate and capable of precise 1/64th adjustments. The Bosch, also a rack and pinion system, but we experience it to have kind of jerky micro adjustments. Additionally, the fence lock is on the left side of the knob, which can be awkward, especially if you're used to Dewalt Milwaukee, because they've been out the longest. Festool has a lever lock fence that indexes and kind of slides in a dado. We found that it was not as smooth as the other saws. It's not rack and pinion. It took a little bit of effort. The fence requires unlocking a knob, sliding out, reversing, and sliding for narrow rips, and I don't know. But it can be removed and stored in a sustainer, which is great. The Metabo HPT saw has a pull-to-lock mechanism, which is opposite of the Bosch, Dewalt, and Milwaukee saws. The team found it kind of choppy when trying to dial in 1/64th measurements, and the fence features a twist knob to lock, on, or remove, requiring users to push tabs to engage, which is less intuitive than the other models. The fence also rotates to extended support for narrow rips, requiring you to grab a sub-fence assembly that's stored under the saw. We did not like that. All right, let's talk about raising the blade. The Festool blade can be raised and adjusted to a precise height using electronic control linked to 1/64th digital display. Super precise. In comparison, raising the blade on the Flex saw is super fast, requiring just 9 3/4 hand cranks, hand rotations. Hand rotation results were interesting. So Flex was 9 3/4 rotations, Bosch was 13 3/4, Dewalt was 35 3/4 rotations to get it all the way to the top. Metabo HPT was 29 3/4, and Milwaukee was 15 rotations. As far as ripping width, most of the 8 1/4 saws had a very similar ripping width. The Metabo HPT, being a 10-inch saw, and as a result, had the largest rip at 35 1/4 to the right, 22 3/8 to the left. As far as bevel adjustments go, the Festool had the widest bevel range. That saw goes from -10 to 47 degrees, which was pretty impressive. And I'll show you a chart on the others. Riving knife adjustments. The riving knife were either removable or non-removable, and they could just bury them under the table. Milwaukee has a riving knife that is the easiest to remove and adjust. It requires using kind of a pull lever. The Flex uses a flip down lever to release the riving knife. Users would need to kind of tilt the riving knife in and out to set it, and it's not really intuitive, but you get used to it. Overall, we like the feature once you do get the hang of it. Dewalt has an easy to turn knob and a simple depress of a knob, which removes the riving knife. The Bosch has a lever that turns to adjust, locks in multiple positions, but it's not removable. Festool requires way too many steps to access, but it's simple to remove once accessible. And it locks at one height only and is removable. Metabo HPT has a nicely machined cam lever, but was really stiff and hard to actuate. We really had to pull down and push on it. It has a height positions and is non-removable. We then moved on to the saw guard, and you know, the plastic guards found on the saws. Metabo, super easy to remove. Bosch was clunky and awkward to attach. Dewalt featured a 1 5/8 outside and a 1 3/4 inside dust shroud on top of the blade guard. Awesome design. They've had it for a long time. But good luck trying to find a connection port so that you could use the saw guard and the bottom dust port at the same time. I'm not aware of any that they sell. Milwaukee was similar to Dewalt without the dust shroud on the saw guard. And Festool requires a few steps to use the saw guard, but it's really easy to do. So I would say Metabo HPT was probably the nicest one to deal with. Being cordless saws, we looked at battery gauge. Probably not important to a lot of you guys, but maybe if you're making a money cut and you don't want the battery to die on you, the Flex has the brightest battery LED gauge with 4 LEDs. This feature can be activated with the saw in the off position, which was nice. Bosch has a bright green 3 LED light across the power switch, but does not activate unless you flip the power switch on. Festool has 2 battery symbols on the top left corner of the LCD screen, which can be kind of hard to see in daylight. That was probably our biggest critique of that screen. The rest of the saws requiring pushing the battery indicator, all the batteries facing the user, which is good. As far as feature winner, Flex took this category. Flex cordless table saw has set a new standard in this category, emerging as a feature winner with impressive performance. Scoring a low 31 points across 14 categories, it excelled top honors in 6 distinct categories, outshining the other saws. While Milwaukee scored 37 points, Bosch came in with 44. Flex unique features make it a strong contender for you guys. The saw is equipped with a folding slide extension table as well, which kind of enhances stability and support for work pieces, kind of invaluable for users in the field. Additionally, the Flex table saw includes an innovative rechargeable LED light integrated right into the strip, right into the fence, and it provides excellent visibility for making cuts. This thoughtful design element not only improves visibility, but maybe enhances safety as well by illuminating the work area better. We moved on to the best table saw stand, cordless table saw stand. Winner of that was Milwaukee. Our crew found that the saws with the scissor stands were the fastest and easiest to set up. Brands like Dewalt, Bosch, Milwaukee, and Flex all offer scissor stands. Bosch, Flex, and Milwaukee have latches at the user side that lock the saw to the stand, which makes them highly mobile. You can actually pick the saw, the stand up, and relocate it, reposition it, whatever you need to do. In contrast, the Dewalt stand does not have a locking mechanism. You can bolt it down, but it just sits. Most folks just sit it, which often results in the saw sliding off or users when you're trying to move it. I smashed my finger the other day using my Dewalt saw. When I tried to slide a little bit, it fell, and I went to reach for it, and it pinched between the stand. The Milwaukee stand also features an adjustable foot for leveling. Bosch has these extended front legs that extend out for stability, which is great, but I felt it was a trip hazard. Festool setup includes an MFT table and dolly, which takes up a little bit more space than the scissor stands, but it sits in some grooves on the tabletop of this. It does not lock in place, makes it a little awkward to set up or move, but once it's in place, it is stable, and you've got a little built-in outfeed table. This Festool system is more suited for rolling from the truck to the job site, and then you can stack sustainers and things on top or store it once you're inside your vehicle. It's a really nice system. The Metabo HPT stand is excellent, but requires bolting the saw, creating a permanent pairing. It features sturdy folding tubular legs, an adjustable leg, wide roller wheels, and the crew appreciated the setup. It was super easy to set up, but it's way too large and to be truly considered a mobile table saw. It does not easily fit into the vehicle. It's bulky and awkward. All right, we moved on to decibels, and all of the saws were quite loud, with the decibel levels ranging from 104 to 106 decibels. We decided that the difference was too little, 2 decibels. It was not sufficient enough to effectively differentiate the saws, so we didn't rank them on that. So the best portable table saw, cordless table saw winner was Flex. Choosing the best portable table saw, it was a challenge and we focused on an everyday mobile contractor. That was our group we were looking at. Flex, being new to the market, had ample time to perfect this saw. While a total score of 8 points, the Flex cordless saw ranked first overall in our assessment, showcasing accuracy, usability, and value. While it may not lead in every category, its combination of strengths made it an excellent choice for contractors seeking dependable and cost-effective tool, particularly for those prioritizing performance without a high price tag. The Milwaukee portable saw ranks second with an overall score of 10 points. It has a strong performance in accuracy, power, ergonomics, making it a appealable option for contractors who value precision and reliability. The stability provided by the stand further enhanced its appeal, ensuring safe operation in various job sites. In summary, the Milwaukee table saw represents a solid investment for professionals looking for a high-performing, durable tool that delivers consistent results. When it comes to slightly higher price, its overall value in terms of historic performance, it's been out for a long time, and usability make it a serious contender. Now the Dewalt, the first one to make the cordless saw, ranked third overall with a score of 14 points. Its strengths are its power and competitive pricing, making it a reliable choice for contractors seeking a very powerful cutting saw. Although it may not excel in every category, Dewalt provides a well-rounded performance that meets many professional needs, myself included. In summary, the Dewalt table saw offers a good balance of power, accuracy, affordability, making it a really attractive option for contractors who prioritize performance and value. And its reputation for reliability, been out a long time, further enhances its appeal. It's a popular choice, and we see it on the job site a lot. The new Festool table saw did not quite fit our testing criteria, and due to its high price, it's likely to attract a very specific user base. While it's expensive, it offers several very nice key advantages. It's designed for precise cuts. It's ideal for job sites or work sites with limited space, or it seamlessly integrates with other Festool products, enhancing workflow, or if you're a brand loyal. We feel that the Festool is best suited for professional woodworkers, hardwood floor users, installers, finished carpenters, and those who value precision and portability. Best value saw was Flex. Best value, it's a critical category in tool comparisons because it kind of balances decision making in considering both performance and budget, leading to a practical choice that provides long-term savings and higher overall satisfaction for you folks. So Flex did that because it was one of the least expensive tools and it performed extremely well. Guys, these tests and evaluations are demanding and time consuming, and we have a limited scope. We're not a professional testing company, and we have a restricted time for using these tools, right? We're not able to do long-term testing to assess durability, nor can we test every possible scenario you'd like to see. Nevertheless, we feel that this table saw head-to-head, they're all quality table saws, and we hope we highlighted the pros and cons of each model. Ultimately, everyone chooses the tool based on their specific needs, uses, and budget. But with the data that we provided here, we're confident that you can make a more informed decision when purchasing your next portable cordless table saw. I would suggest you look at some of the saws that have been out for a long time, but use the data to make your decision. Do me a favor, guys. Take a look at our other head-to-head tests that we've done on this site. We've done dozens and dozens of them, and we put a lot of effort. I think you'll enjoy them. If you appreciate what we've done here today, please give us a thumbs up, leave a comment. Love hearing from you guys. And please consider subscribing to support us, our efforts, and the site. I appreciate it. We'll see you at the next video. Take care.